The Supreme Court just told President Trump, no, you can't do that. The news hit Washington like a thunderclap. The decision was a direct challenge to Trump's authority, a public rebuke from a court he'd helped shape. In the White House, chaos erupted. Aides scrambled, phones rang, and the president was reportedly furious. Imagine you've got a plan you believe will make America strong, only to have the highest court, some justices you appointed, declare it illegal. For Trump, this wasn't just a policy defeat, it was personal. His social media exploded with defiant messages, promising a fight and accusing the court of betrayal. News channels went into overdrive. Was this a victory for the rule of law, or a judicial coup? The decision didn't just block economic policies, it sparked a national debate about presidential power. The Supreme Court's answer: the president's power isn't unlimited. This wasn't just another political battle, it was the president versus the Constitution. The ruling was a stark reminder. In America, no one is above the law. The gavel dropped and the echo was deafening. So, what are tariffs? Think of them as taxes on goods brought into the country. If you buy a TV made in China, a tariff is an extra fee added when it arrives in the US, making it more expensive. The idea: make foreign products cost more, so American-made goods seem cheaper. Trump loved tariffs. He saw them as weapons to fight countries he thought were taking advantage of the US. He used tariffs to punish countries over drug trafficking, political disputes, and especially in a trade war with China. The goal: protect American jobs and force better trade deals. But here's the catch. American importers pay the tariff, and they pass the cost to you, the customer. So, when tariffs go up, so do prices in American stores. Supporters say tariffs protect US industries. Critics call them a tax on American consumers. The debate: are tariffs a tool for fairness, or just making life more expensive? Trump called it America first. But for many, it felt like America pays. That's the heart of the tariff drama. And it's why the Supreme Court had to step in. The Supreme Court wasn't deciding if tariffs were good or bad, they were deciding if the president could impose them alone. Trump's lawyers argued a 1977 law, the IEEPA, gave him broad emergency powers, including tariffs. Opponents said, the Constitution gives Congress, not the president, the power to tax and regulate trade. The IEEPA, they argued, never mentions tariffs. The justices pressed hard. If Congress wanted to hand over such a big power, wouldn't the law say so? Chief Justice Roberts noted tariffs are taxes on Americans, a core congressional power. He invoked the major questions doctrine. Big actions need clear permission from Congress. The courtroom was tense. The justices knew their decision would set a huge precedent. The question: could the president invent new taxes, or did that cross a constitutional line? The answer would reshape the balance of power. The justices' skepticism was clear. Chief Justice Roberts said tariffs are taxes, and only Congress can impose them. He pointed out the EPA never mentions tariffs, a red flag. Even Trump's appointees like Gorsuch and Barrett questioned the administration's argument. Gorsuch worried about Congress losing its authority forever if it gave away such power. Barrett asked where the law actually gave the president this sweeping authority. The liberal justices were firmly opposed, arguing the law was meant to limit out by, not expand, presidential power. Only Justices Alito and Thomas seemed open to Trump's view, but they were in the minority. The consensus: this wasn't just about Trump, but about protecting the constitutional balance. The court saw a dangerous overreach. Both sides recognized the stakes. Who really controls America's economic power? The justices seemed ready to draw a firm line. The president's argument was on shaky ground. While the legal battle raged, Americans felt the impact at the checkout. Tariffs meant higher prices on everything from electronics to shoes. Importers paid the tax, but passed it on to consumers. Even American-made products got pricier, since many rely on imported parts. Small businesses struggled with rising costs, forced to raise prices or risk closing. Farmers were hit hard when other countries retaliated with their own tariffs. The result: economic uncertainty, higher costs, and lost markets. Tariffs acted as a regressive tax, hitting lower and middle-income families hardest. The policy meant to help American workers often hurt them most. That's why states joined the lawsuit, citing real harm to their citizens. The economic pain was impossible to ignore. Trump didn't back down. He championed tariffs as acts of strength, not just policy. At rallies and online, he insisted tariffs punished cheaters and brought back jobs. He claimed China paid the tariffs, not Americans, despite evidence to the contrary. As lawsuits mounted, Trump framed the case as a political attack on his presidency. He warned of disaster if the court ruled against him, painting a picture of a nation left defenseless. When the Supreme Court blocked his plan, Trump lashed out, attacking the justices, even those he'd appointed. He called the court weak and political, rallying his base by claiming the system was rigged. For Trump, this was about more than tariffs. It was about his power. The court said there were limits. Trump declared there shouldn't be. The clash became a test of presidential authority itself. This case struck at the heart of American government separation of powers. The Constitution gives Congress, not the president, the power to tax and regulate trade. Trump's lawyers argued Congress handed over that power in emergencies. The Supreme Court said, no. The president can't create new taxes without clear, explicit permission. The ruling was a sharp reminder. The executive branch must stay in its lane. For decades, presidents have claimed more power. This decision put on the brakes. The precedent could affect future battles over immigration, military action, and more. The court's use of the major questions doctrine signals. Big moves need clear legal backing. Congress is the primary lawmaker. The president can't act alone. The decision reasserted checks and balances. It was a blow to the idea of an all-powerful presidency. The message: the Constitution still rules. This wasn't the first time the Supreme Court checked a president's power. In 1952, President Truman tried to seize steel mills during the Korean War. The court said no, only Congress could authorize that. In 1974, Nixon refused to hand over Watergate tapes, claiming executive privilege. The court unanimously ordered him to comply. These cases set crucial limits. Even in emergencies, the president isn't above the law. The recent tariff decision follows that tradition. The court's job enforced the Constitution, even against the most powerful. These moments are democracy's guardrails. They remind us, the president is not a king. The rule of law stands above any one leader. The system works when the court says no. The Supreme Court's decision on Trump's tariffs is about more than trade. It reaffirms that presidential power has limits. The power to tax and regulate the economy belongs to Congress, not one person. The ruling protects checks and balances, essential for democracy. Justices, from both parties, united to uphold the Constitution. The court's independence is vital for public trust in the law. This case will guide future leaders and preserve the balance of power. The debates will continue, but this moment proved the system can hold. When a president claimed too much power, the court answered, no,